So, um, I just finished the 8th episode to Alpha Protocol, the Let's Play series, and I don't really have anything else to do today as far as editing goes. I've been working my ass off the past couple of days when it comes to videos and stuff. So, I think I'm gonna be taking a break as far as that's concerned, at least for the rest of this week. But with that out of the way, I decided I might as well start another one of these Zojen rambling things. And I decided it would be a good idea to talk about my experiences with my mental health. Because that's been on my mind a lot recently. And I decided, you know what, might as well put it out there. It's not like there's gonna be any bad repercussions for it, at least I hope not. And I've always been open about my mental health issues, so might as well just put on YouTube and make it a bit more official. So, I suffer from a myriad of mental health issues. I have anxiety, I have depression, I suffer from perfectionism, and there may be a chance that I'm autistic as well. So, that's a lot of mental health stuff to pile onto me, and it's a little bit difficult to handle. It has definitely affected my life too. It's part of the reason. Well, let me start from the beginning. I used to go to a college called Wesleyan back from 2016 to 2017-ish, or something like that, and I ended up being suspended because of credit deficiencies. Part of this was because whenever I wasn't doing well in the class, instead of trying my hardest to do well, push myself to do well in said class, instead I was like, if I can't do it well, I can't do it at all, and I'd always drop the classes. And whenever that happened, I had to deal with credit deficiencies. And part of that was because I also felt a large amount of anxiety around it. Like, there were days when I would just have straight panic attacks, and there were days when my depression was so bad I couldn't leave my bedroom. And all in all, that resulted in me being suspended because of credit deficiencies. And in the end, I decided not to go back once my suspension was up. The mental health issues in conjunction with my inability to push myself to keep going forward ended up resulting in me being unable to get where I wanted to go at the time, which was unfortunate. And that wasn't the first time that mental health had affected me in that way too. It had in the past, though not to that of an intensity. It was at that point when me and my family realized how much of an issue it was, and I ended up taking a year off from school to get my shit together, essentially. I went to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, therapy, got put on some drugs that helped with the mental health, and it helped. It definitely did. But there were also a lot of low points as well. Not many of you would follow me on Twitter, which makes sense since all I do is not repost, that's awful to do, but reblog memes all day. But some of the times I do get a little personal. One of the times that I did was when I mentioned that I was feeling I was feeling terrible on a certain day, and that was the day when I felt suicidal. And at that point, I was planning on doing something terrible where I, off myself. And the only reason why I didn't was because I had the wherewithal to not check into, but talk online as an online suicidal helpline, and that saved my life. It feels weird talking about that like out loud. I've mentioned it multiple times, like in texts or on chat lines, but this is the first time I've mentioned out loud that if it wasn't for me having the mental fortitude to stop long enough to go online and talk to someone about my issues, that I wouldn't be here right now. I guess that's the scary thing too, because not many people would do that. Well, not many people have done that, which is unfortunate. It's why we've lost so many people to the dark disease that it is. But I'm fine at the moment, thankfully. I have been seeing therapists still, though due to the COVID situation, I can't really see them face to face, but talking on the phone still helps. I've been taking medications for my ADHD, but not for my depression. Thankfully, I've reached a point where I don't really need it. Not at the moment, anyway. Staying inside all the time definitely has not been good for my mental health. Once again, thanks to the whole COVID situation. But I've been able to manage by keeping myself busy. Well, I guess that is another portion of the mental health things that I have to deal with. I mentioned before that I was a perfectionist, but what I forgot to mention was I was also a workaholic. I'm not sure if that is exactly a mental health issue, but it definitely coincides with the perfectionism and the anxiety part of me. I was brought up with the idea that if I'm not doing well in something, then I'm a failure for it. It was a hard upbringing. Well, that part was a hard upbringing. And it sort of pushed the idea into my head that if I don't do perfectly in something, then I was a failure. And that, in turn, transformed into if in order to be perfect at something, you have to work yourself to the bone to do it. And for some reason, it wasn't so, It wasn't as obvious to me in my self-awareness as a child that I had a workaholic nature. Granted, I suppose that's because that was pushed upon me. I didn't make myself work for hours on end of my own free will. But once I was in university, again, after the year that I spent getting my stuff together, I was most certainly that. I did not make friends my second go around at university. I would just go to class and I'd come back, maybe eat something, and then I'd just go to work. Work all day, every day. And it may have been what made me a quote-unquote model student. I only had a 3.5 GPA, but it may have made me a model student in the eyes of some. But I was incredibly lonely. The only friends I had were people I met online and close friends I had from when I was in the old college. And it was not very healthy for me either, because I would spend hours at a time working on something. The only reprieve that came of this was when I decided to get into video editing. The only issue is that instead of being a workaholic in one thing, I was a workaholic in two things. And which is why back during my earlier YouTube career, I released a lot more videos than I do now, at least per week. And the thing that the thing that leaves me conflicted about that is that sometimes I look at my earlier work, like as far as promos go. For example, I'm gonna show you actually, you know what? I am just going to play through it right now. The promo I made specifically for the Carolyn Doll versus Kimmy McLarch-Huge Ka wrestling thing. That was part of Swerve I made, God, months ago? I know it was last year. Let's see. Yeah, I uploaded this video on the 23rd of October. That was... I'm bad with calculating months, but that was a while ago. And in my eyes, this right here is my best work ever. And I am going to watch through it in 3, 2, 1, play. So I had a very clear narrative in mind for this video. It was based upon the idea that there was a legacy with both of the with the championship belt itself. That started with the match that's playing right now, Alpha Nika versus Olivia Doyle, and it just built up from there. And I decided at the time, you know, what would be a better choice for it than to use the trailer music that was from Wonder Woman at the time. And the trailer turned out great. Even now when I watch it, I get goosebumps because of the importance that was placed upon the champions and the wrestling belt itself, with the side-by-side of the timelines of the champions before it reaches a crescendo with the current champions at the time. It was a really good promo in my eyes, because not only did it build hype for it, but it showed the importance, it showed the story, and it showed the personality of the two wrestlers as well. At least I hope it did. You know, looking at it now, I guess it kinda didn't. It just showed the moveset, and I guess that's fine as well. You know, big woman that does kicks versus brutal woman that hits you with forearms. And yeah, the face-to-face with the crescending music, and it just holds it there until it finally ends. This, in my eyes, is the best video I have ever made. And a fear I have is that no matter what I do, I'm never going to reach that level of video again, because I'm not forcing myself to sacrifice my health for the sake of my craft. I know it sounds kind of like what's it called? It sounds very melodramatic. Here I am, putting my blood against this computer, when all in all I'm just editing a video for a creative wrestler promotion of a Twitch streamer, and all in all, in 100 years, this whole thing's not gonna matter. When I put it that way, it probably doesn't. But even so, it felt important to me. Important that I was willing to do that, but it wasn't healthy to do. At least not consistently, and that's what I did. But, damn, I digressed so hard, I completely forgot what my original point even was. What was I saying? Right. That my workaholic nature and my perfectionist nature made, while I succeeded in both creating videos and I got my bachelor's degree like I wanted, it was not good for my health at all. And I'm partly afraid now that I'm planning to get a master's degree and I'm going back to working on more videos that this whole cycle is going to begin again. And that if I don't begin the cycle again, I'm not going to be able to do as well. I guess that's just the problems with being a creative person like that. You have to choose to sacrifice everything for your art, or for your art to not be as good, but you're mentally okay. Oh. Well, I guess that explains why part of why Van Gogh had those issues that he did. Sacrificed everything he did for his art and got nothing out of it. Granted, I don't know his entire story. I might just be making assumptions that I shouldn't be. You know, not speaking ill of the dead and whatnot. But, yeah. I also have the, depression that is a factor as well. Thankfully, it's not as bad as it used to be. Before, I barely emoted. I didn't smile for months. I didn't feel anything except a hollow emptiness. And now I do, thankfully. I feel emotions, I feel happy all the time. Though I'm not stuck in my bed all day. I'm like right now, I'm just sitting in my living room with my dog, relaxing to my side, being lazy as he is, aren't you, Milo? See, he's not even responding to me. But that aside, it still is an issue that I realized a few months ago, specifically a couple of weeks after I graduated, that the depression's not going to go away. Even if I have nothing going on in my life, it's a mental illness that's still going to be there. And I accepted that it's part of what I am. It is just unfortunate that it even affects me in ways that I did not realize. For example, my voice. I know because I watched the Ramblings video sometimes just to see what I had to say at the time about certain things. One of the things that struck me was my voice. I've been told before that I sound very easily upset. And while that is true, I am kind of sensitive, but it's more that like even when I'm in a neutral state of mind, a lot of people think I'm upset. Unless I'm really upbeat and happy and excited, which is like how I sound when I'm commentating on Swell.
Jonathan motherfucking Page! We draw the line here!
Or reading some things in Danganronpa. And just like that, she never moved again. Holy fucking shit! Or things along those lines. When I'm talking neutrally, it shows that the depression is still there because I sound tired, exhausted, and sad. And it's a little sad to me that the depression even affects me in that way. Because I have had many conversations with people where they thought that I was upset at them or didn't want to talk to them because of how I sounded. Thankfully, those people I never told them that was because of my depression, but it's just how I talk, and thankfully that's not an issue anymore. Yeah, I guess this is the problem with Ramblings, is that it's not really structured. I'm not really sure what else I can talk about. Unlike with the with the Sonic Ramblings, there was a clear beginning and end to it. Now it's just gonna peter out. I guess that's just a similarity with the mental health issues. Unlike with my relationship with the Sonic fandom, the mental issues aren't going to necessarily have an ending, not until I end up dying. And that's not going to happen for a very long time. Hopefully. But yeah, that's what I had on my mind and what I wanted to talk about. I do have a thing in mind for what I want to talk about next time, and it's going to have a little bit more structure to it. Specifically, I wanted to talk about why I think Dark Souls 2 is the best game in the entire Dark Souls franchise. Thanks for listening to my ramblings, and I'll catch you later. Peace.